Alright, so this is the first long video I'm gonna make, right? With Instagram, I'm very restricted with what I can put out and also how long it has to be for. So I have to structure it before I can post. But I think YouTube is a really good way to put everything that I have in one video and just, be very candid about it. So most of you who are watching this are probably my Instagram friends, and first I would really like to just thank everyone for the amount of support everyone has shown on Instagram. And today, after 4 months of consistently posting, we're a family of around 14,000 people. So that means a lot. And when I started this, I did not expect it to have this much reach so quickly, because it's only been 4 months. But we have grown, and we have grown exceptionally well. Instagram, you're very limited with that because I have to try to be in that 1.5 minute mark. That's what I aim for. So it's quite hard to get all of your thoughts about certain topics, and it's hard to get into it more deeply. So today, this is the first video that I'm posting, and a lot of people had questions about my journey, how it started, where it started, how it all came together. Right? A lot of people are curious about the spiritual path, and a lot of people are waking up, they're delving deeper into themselves. And the more they discover that, the more curious they get about how they can, maybe learn from my journey, how they can follow on the same footsteps, right? But the best thing about this whole world of spirituality is that you can't follow my footsteps, that I can't follow somebody else's footsteps, right? It's a path that you have to pay for yourself, right? Look at it as a raw piece of marble that you've got, right? And you have to carve it out and make something out of it. You have to give it the structure, you have to give it the meaning. If I show you my marble rock, you won't be able to copy it exactly like that, because it's not meant to be like that for your life. So a lot of people had questions about my journey and how my journey started, how it all began, how did I get on this path. So I thought it would be, as I'm starting my YouTube channel properly now, I've been posting the reels you see on Instagram, I've been posting them as shorts on YouTube, but I thought the best way to start my YouTube journey properly would be by sharing how I got onto this path, how many things had to go right and how many things had to go wrong, right, for me to start walking this path. And trust me, there were more wrong things that had to go down than right things. And it's also how you perceive things to be right and wrong, right? Now when I look back at all the wrong, as per se, wrong things that happened, I would say they were the most right things that happened in my life. But that's also because the work I've done on myself, it's really changed my perspective on how I see life, just in general, right? Now I'm not one of those people who calls something right or wrong. I just take it as it comes. I just look at it for what it is, I look at things beyond the illusion that I used to look at before, right? Because what we do in our current world is we form a bubble that we try to live in. And what keeps happening is we really enjoy this bubble, right? People call it Delulu now, right? And very proudly people are coming out there and saying they love being in Delulu, right? Don't disturb my state, all of those things, right? But even at some point in life, right, you get tired, something inside of you starts saying to you that what am I doing? Like, what am I really doing? You know? Because how long can you avoid yourself for? I say that, but most of the people avoid themselves their whole lives. They've been doing it for lifetimes, right? But everything that you see as good or bad happening in your life is leading you to a specific point, is calling you to wake up. Whether you get that signal, whether you don't get that signal, that is a lot to do with what state of being you are in at that point. So, how did my journey start? It hasn't just started recently. Since childhood, I have been a person who was very sensitive. I have been a person who used to, just who used to look beyond, superficial things, shallow things, things that were just on the surface, things that other people, all they focus on is those things, right? Those things on the surface. They wouldn't go beyond, they wouldn't look beyond, they wouldn't look deeply into any situation, deeply into some other person, because the more deeper you go, even in external things about why are you doing certain things, it gives you reflections of yourself, right? It brings out things, it brings things to the surface inside of you that you were not willing to face, right? And what starts happening is the more and more sensitive you are, the more deeper you look at things outside of you, right? The more you have to face yourself. And in that facing yourself, you get so scared with time that now you completely ignore everything that you never used to ignore before. Before you used to look at things deeply, but now with time, with hurt, with pain, with suffering, not just yours, but looking at other people's suffering also, you block yourself. We block ourselves because all of us, we are one, and we are all very interconnected, we are all very interdependent, we're all also sharing the same feelings, the same thoughts about things. So even looking at somebody else's hurt really impacts us. And I would say since childhood, I was a person who was so sensitive, right? Who used to look at things so deeply, even at my own house, right? If my family members were fighting, I would be very sensitive about it. As a child, also, I was not very childish, right? Very early, I felt like I had to grow up because people around me were acting so childish. I really did not have any choice but to grow up quickly. It wasn't a conscious effort, but it happened. And what happened was when I was around 9 years old. When I was around 9 years old, my parents had sent me to boarding school, and that is where I would say were the first glimpses of getting to know myself, because we live in households, we live with our families, especially in our culture. I'm an Indian person, I'm a Punjabi person. In our households, we're all used to being too interfering with and being too involved in our family members' lives. So my parents had sent me to boarding school, that, and even they were influenced by families around them, their friend groups around them, right? And they had heard great things about how a boarding school will completely discipline your child, get them ready for the world outside, because boarding schools are very strict, especially back in my time. And even before that, my brother was also in a boarding school. The boarding school we were in was the Lawrence School, Sanar. It's a very beautiful place. It's in the hills, a place called Kasoli. That's where this beautiful boarding school is, right? And it was tough for me. I was just going into fifth grade, right? And my whole childhood, I had grown close to my grandmother a lot. I was very close to my grandmother. And even she was coming towards the end of her life, and I used to really feel like I'm losing out on spending time with her and all of those things. So I was very emotional about it. Growing up, did not have a very strong relationship with my dad, and my mom was there all the time. She would be at she was a housewife, so she would be around the house all the time. My dad was working very long hours, so did not get to spend that much time with him. Of course, he was doing trying to do his best for the family. um, but when all of this was going on, my parents also thought that it's better if they send me away to a boarding school, like they had sent my brother. Now, my brother is a very emotional being, so it was even more difficult for him when he went to boarding school, because he was very close to my mother as well emotionally, so it was very difficult for him. But for me, I remember when my parents had dropped me there, and when they left, I didn't cry that much when they were leaving in front of them, but when they had left, I was devastated. And looking back at those experiences now, I'm very grateful, because truly spending that much, I was in boarding school for 5 years, so spending that time there, I got to develop my own brain. I got to develop my own individual self. I wasn't so um, influenced by my parents' philosophies, ideas, right? I had got that time to that, because those years are very key years for you to, develop the way you think, your thinking processes, the way you deal with emotions, all of those things. So I would say boarding school was the first time that I really learned detachment from things. But even this wasn't really the time, because I feel like more than detachment, it was numbing me somewhere inside. It was teaching me that I can't form emotional attachments to people, because people leave, right? You call it abandonment issues or whatever. Right, at that point, I wasn't that aware that I am actually becoming numb and not detached. I thought that it was being detached, but I was actually just becoming numb and numb and numb. Right, because I lost the ability to smile, I lost the ability to cry. I became very numb, not balanced, numb. And it was very hard. It was very hard. Boarding school years were very hard. I learned a lot of things there about, love, friendship, working, togetherness, because we had like house systems in our boarding school, and there was a very great sense of unity between, the members of the house. But also at the same time, there was division, and I used to feel very off about it. The most important thing that happened to me during my boarding school years was one key incident that happened. I was great academically. I was really good. So I think in my fifth and sixth grade, I used to top every single exam, and I was achieving percentages that no one had ever achieved in that in fifth and sixth, right, at that time. And everyone used to be shocked, and I was the benchmark for everyone to compare themselves to. And what happened was, I realized one day what happened was, my parents had come to for a parents teacher meeting, right? And it was very common for my teachers to just start crying when I was progressing to the next class. They would just start crying that he was our favorite student, he used to do this, he used to be like this, he's such a great student. They used to love teaching. because I used to be very receptive to them. I was very well behaved, very disciplined, never used to, put a wrong step in. So they really loved me for that. But once what happened was, I clearly remember the results had come out, and our parents had also come to receive us on that day. And everyone, obviously, in my grade knew that I used to get very, very high marks. And I was known for getting really high marks, and I was known for being very athletic and sporty. And everyone, literally from 5th and 6th grade, used to think and know that if I stay in school till 12th, I will probably be head boy. Right? All the teachers thought that, all the students thought that, because I was very sporty and I was also very academic. So once what happened was that my parents had come to receive me, and this other friend of mine, his parents came up to my parents, and my friend was also there. And they naturally asked me that, beta, how was your exam, what results did you get, right? And I had probably got 97-98%. And maths was something I was really good at. And I remember that when I told them my grade, my mark, they looked at their son in a way that they were disgusted by their son, and they basically said to me in front of him that, beta, he also needs to study, he does not know what he's doing, you need to teach him, you are so good, you are so this, you are so that. And I really felt so bad. I really felt so bad that, another person is being put down by their own family, by their own parents, just because, I got some number on my exam, and I was just in 5th and 6th, but I still used to feel those things. They were really putting down their son in front of him. And, obviously, it's not a great feeling for the son to, be compared to me, feel like I am higher than him. So all of those things, I really was very sensitive about those things, and I did not like it. Then one thing my dad also used to do was, he used to, whenever my result used to come, he used to just spread it in, all the family groups and everything. And I could see everyone in the family was, expecting me to, be some, I don't know. As it is in Indian families, they expect you to be an engineer, doctor, lawyer, all of these things. So they were expecting me to be something very great and pursue a very academic career as well. But after 6th grade, I just became very defiant, right? I went completely the other way. I stopped studying. I completely stopped studying just because of that one incident that happened with my friend. Just because of that, I was like, I'm not gonna do this anymore, right? Because I don't want to make somebody feel bad. And that's where it all started, right? In 7th grade, I really started focusing on sports. I really started focusing on girls, right? That's when, the hormones are kicking in also. So I really started focusing on, so that's what happens, right? If you're giving your energy one way, and you stop giving it energy over there. So I was giving a lot of energy to my studies. I used to study all the time, so I could get good grades. Once you stop giving that specific area energy, you have to give it somewhere else. So I started giving it to sports, I started giving it to attention, girls, all of these things. And very literally, in the space of like 2 or 3 months, I had been with 2 or 3 girls, right? That I liked them. It was not even that they liked me. I liked them first. Then they thought about it. Then, it was very childish behavior, very childish love. I did not know I did not know what I was doing. I did not know what love was. I did not know what, commitment was, relationship was, right? And a part of me also being a scared little child inside of, that feeling of wanting to feel loved, that feeling of not wanting to be abandoned, was looking for it in you know, other people. And I got it. The girls, we started dating, right? So I remember I started dating, and there were 3 girls that I dated in the span of a couple of months. And one of those girls, I only asked her out because, I was dared to ask her out, and she actually said yes. And then I had to break up with her, and that also made me realize how much I hurt another person. That made me feel so bad from the inside. I used to be a very vengeful, very angry, very very bad person, right? If you look at me from the outside. And even before boarding school, I used to be very, very aggressive, because all the fighting that I used to see at home, I used to go to school and, hit other people. Once I broke somebody's knee, I took a metal chair and I broke their knee, right? But again, because I was really good in my studies, the school did not chuck me out of the school. They suspended me for some time and they let me back in. But I used to have so much anger inside of me. I used to have so much hate, jealousy, greed, um, feelings of, that I'm not enough, that I am only liked because I am good at sports, or I am good at, I get good grades, My family used to make me feel like that, if I don't get good grades, I will be someone less. So all that weighed down on me. Over the years, it keeps weighing down on you. And then what happened in seventh? So seventh went by, then eighth came. Eighth, I started doing the same things, even focusing even less on studies, more on sports, and defying, being rebellious. All of those things started kicking in. And then my dad was like, I am not gonna tolerate all of this, because my grades had dropped from like 98%, I was getting 70% now, because I had lost so much focus. And then my dad got me out of boarding school. He put me in a local school in Jalandhar. Jalandhar is the city I'm from. And I remember I cried a lot. I cried a lot because I knew being at home means, being involved in all the family drama that I was not used to for 5 years. I really wanted to run away, right? And I was really, as I told you, that I focused a lot on sports now, in my seventh and eighth. So I went towards cricket. I wanted to become a cricketer. That was my dream, right? But my parents would force me to, I would be going to 3 tuitions in one day, going to school, coming back, going to tuition, then going to another tuition, then coming back home, doing the homework, preparing for tests for the next day, then going to school. This was the routine. I could not even play sport in between, right? And my dream was to, play cricket. I was born in the UK and I have a British passport. So I figured out a middle way, right? What had actually happened was that I went for my cricket trials in Punjab, and they would not let me go through. I was really good at cricket. They would not let me play for Punjab because I had a British birth certificate. Like, they couldn't even read English. When I gave them the birth certificate, they couldn't even read English. So very quickly I got to know that in India I have no scope. So then I started wondering, would I be able to go to London? So I started researching about that. We have family members in London. My dad's sister lives there. So I thought maybe I can live with them. Maybe I can study in London, because education in London is free for people that are born there. So I thought maybe I can go there, do my schooling and play cricket at the same time, which was my dream. So somehow I convinced my parents that, let me go. I'm going to stay with my dad's sister. And in London, they're very particular about, even if you're excelling in sports, they make sure that you're studying. So on that basis, my dad got convinced. And even though they obviously did not want me to go, because they wouldn't want me to go as parents, but I really forced them. I was really determined that I need to go. This is the only chance I have. I want to become a cricketer and all of that. I got stuck in that loop. I went and I stayed in London I was there for 4 5 years. In that time, COVID happened. In that time, I got into my first relationship. In that time, I also broke my back, so I could not continue playing cricket, which was very heartbreaking. The doctors had told me I could never play again, and if I play again, that I won't be able to walk again. Right? So all of these hardships happened. Like there are many examples. Staying in a household where your parents are not there. I used to feel like they are not treating me as family. I used to feel like a stranger in my own relative's house. And slowly I got to even recognize that, um, when I went to London, I used to isolate myself in my room. I used to close the door, not speak to anyone in the house. So somewhere or the other, it was my doing also, right? But I was too young to. I was 14 at this point. I did not have that much capacity to think about these things. Obviously, teenage years. A lot of things are going on in those years. And then probably the most significant part happened of my spiritual journey, which was that I met somebody. I met what I would say is my first guru, right? Her name is Rupa, and the story about this is also great. So what happened was, when I went to London, the school I used to go to, so 2 minutes from that school, my dad used to say to me that his friends from college lived there, so I should go and visit them. Right? So I was not interested because I was a child. I was like, what am I going to do with, old people? How am I going to talk to them? What am I going to talk to them about? And all of those things. One day it was raining a lot. This happened after 1 year. One day it was raining a lot, and I was like, I'm not going to go walk to the station. So I called up these relatives, and I was like, can I just come and spend some time with you guys? So I go to their house. So it was my dad's college friend who used to live there. His wife was the one who received me, and I went to their house and I sat down, and for 5 hours straight we spoke. Right? We spoke, and it felt like time flew by. I had never experienced something like that before, that time just flies by. And we're speaking about things that I could not understand at that point, but somewhere or the other I felt like I know this, right? She would speak about how we are not our mind, how these thoughts are just, something that we are gathering inside of us. This is not our true reality. She would talk about teleportation, astral projection, all of these very weird concepts that I had no idea about, but I was very curious. Now what started happening was that every single week, right, I would go to their house and I would spend a day with them. 4 to 5 hours, I'm sitting down with my aunt and I'm talking to her about, all the things that happened to me. And at least for 4 hours, she would be speaking, and at least for 1 hour, I would be speaking. But she was speaking for 4 hours, and I was listening to her. I was absorbing everything that she had to give, because she had been on the spiritual path for like 35 years now. She meditates every single day. She also had one of her family members who was her guru, right? So I used to look at her as a guru, somebody I really trust in, a very very high soul, a very very beautiful soul. She still is there. She smiles a lot. She's always so loving, like, all the love that I was looking for everywhere. I felt like she is the only one who is, doing it unconditionally. I did not even ask for it, because I was a very stubborn, broken child that had no confidence and no trust in myself. And somehow she used to, say to me that I am this, I am that, I am special. I have a lot of potential to be something that I did not understand what she was talking about at all. I was like, I don't know why she's saying all of this. Right? But she saw something in me that clearly I could not see. Right? Now that I look back at that point, I was a bit more mature, I was a bit more sensitive than, most people are, and she saw that in me. And she saw potential in you know, the flowering of that. She saw that I am not as closed as most of the world is, right? And that's why even she would not interact with many people. She would not interact with many people at all. And so for 4 years I was under her. I met amazing people, very spiritual people who, you know, used to experience a lot of mystical things. Even one day, so she has a garden in her house, and she has basically made a pyramid out of crystals. She has literally put crystals in the garden in the shape of a pyramid. And every single night she used to go stand in between that pyramid and, you know, just close her eyes and meditate. So once even I went, I was there staying with her. I went. Literally, I got a vision of, you know, I was riding a horse or something, like in a very past life or something like that. And somebody came and touched on my head. And somehow she knew that somebody came and touched on my head, and she was like, go back inside very quickly. Right? And things like this would happen around her, and she would come in my dreams and she would say hi to me, and she would give a message to me. The next morning I'm waking up, so she's saying to me, did you get the message? You know, things like this. So these things became like very normal for me. They started becoming very normal. It was, these mystical things started happening to me all the time, right? And also I would always be questioning in my head that, you know, I am here for a purpose, I am here for something. I don't know what it is, but I am here for something. But those 4 years in London, there were a lot of hardships. Like every single day something bad would be happening, something. I used to, even though I used to feel like, you know, I'm in London, I should be grateful about this. Not many people get the opportunity to, you know, experience high school in a different country. A lot of people go for university, but not high school. But that's the thing, right? Even though you think you have everything on the outside, if you're feeling empty in here, what's the point, right? And at that point, I never knew what could be done to, you know, fill those gaps inside of you. I knew these concepts. I knew the entire theory. What I speak about today is nothing new for me, right? I used to know all of this in theory, but I had never experienced any of this. And every single day I would think like, okay, fine, these are just concepts in my head, but like, what now? Am I actually going to experience them? Is it actually true? Because my aunt would give me all of this theory, which was her practical experience, but I could relate to it, but I had not experienced it for myself, right? I believed her because I saw her being, I saw how true she was to herself. So I believed what she was saying, but, you know, I did not have that much trust in it because I had not experienced it for myself.